Hello boys and girls, this is Mrs. Wingervasto, and today we're going to be covering lesson 2.4, multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Don't forget our setup for our notes. You need to have the lesson number and the title and today's date and highlight both of these, okay? Now, today's lesson, the multiplying part is going to be the easier part, and the dividing, you're going to need to make sure you remember some rules. So, let's go ahead and begin. Now, when we're multiplying and dividing rational numbers, it's basically saying we're multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals. So below here, I just have the fraction example, but in our video today, you will see some decimal examples. Now, the multiplying part is going to be very easy. You're just going to be multiplying the fraction that you see across. So if you see this problem here, negative 2, 7 times 1/3, all you need to do is multiply negative 2 times 1, and then 7 times 3, and you get your answer. Now, when you divide, notice division now becomes multiplication. So that's going to be the tricky part today to remember. So make sure you remember when you see a division, you're going to tell yourself, nope, you're not going to divide actually, but you're going to multiply. So I'm going to give you some reminders to help you remember that. So let's go ahead and begin with our first example. In our first example, I have here negative 5 1/5 divided by 2 1/3. Now, just remember, anytime you have a mixed number, you need to make sure that you change it into an improper first. So before you do anything, look to see if this is an improper. And since it's not, we're going to go ahead and change it. So let's go ahead and change it. And we're going to do 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So we're going to put 26 over 5. And since this was a negative fraction, we have to put that negative. Then we're going to put here divide, since it says to divide. So put divide. And then we're going to do 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So we have 7 over 3. So what we basically did is we wrote out the problem. So I have here some steps that I need you to write down. For this, our first step, what we did was we went ahead and wrote out the problem by fixing it and changing it into an improper. So make sure you copy down this part and the steps. So that's step 1. Now for step 2, it says we're going to rewrite the problem, but we're going to use KFC. And when we're doing the change part, we're going to make sure that we change the second fraction to the reciprocal. Now, if you remember, reciprocal means we do a flip around. So I'm going to show you over here in our step 2. So step 2, we're going to go ahead and take our fraction here. We have negative 26 over 5, and we're going to do KFC. So let me write this on top right here so you can see. We're going to do what's called KFC for division. So KFC. It's kind of like for subtraction, but for division, we'll do it slightly different. So you keep the first fraction, and then you're going to flip this division into a multiplication. So this becomes a multiplication. Now, this part right here is very important that you need to look at. The second, sorry, let me change the color. The second fraction now becomes a reciprocal, the change. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take 7 over 3 and change it into the reciprocal, which is 3 over 7. Notice I just flipped it around. Reciprocal means you do a flip through. Okay, so here it is. You keep the first fraction, you flip this to a multiplication, and you change this to a reciprocal of 3 over 7. Very important that you follow these steps. So I wrote here some steps so that it can help you for today's lesson. So rewrite the problem. We just did using KFC. We just did, and we changed the second fraction to the reciprocal. Now, after you have that, this becomes now a multiplication problem. So what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply across. So we're going to do 26 times 3, and 26 times 3 is going to be 78. Now, since a negative times a positive is a negative, we're going to put negative 78, and then 5 times 7 is 35, so we have an answer of 78 over 35. Now, I did say in my last lesson that I want the answers from now on to be in a mixed number. So to do that, we're going to go ahead, and I'll just go ahead and put one more thing. Simplify. So we're going to go ahead and simplify this by doing our division. Top goes in and bottom goes out. I'll go ahead and do it over here on the side. So top goes in, bottom goes out, and then we have 35. So 35 goes into 78 about 2 times. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 on top. And then that's going to be 70. And then we have a remainder of 8. So that's going to be 8 on top here and the 35 at the bottom. So our answer is 8 over 35. But I did notice there's a negative here, so I'm going to include that negative. So now my final answer will be negative 2 and 8 over 35. This is a better answer than this answer because it's in a mixed number, and I prefer a mixed number. Okay? All right. Example 2. Now, this is actually much easier than the fraction. This time, we're going to be multiplying with decimals. So when we multiply with decimals, all we need to do is write it out, just the way you see it, 2.5, and times it below by the second decimal, which is 3.6. Notice you don't necessarily have to line up the decimals when you multiply, only when you add. That's a times, by the way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this like we normally would. 5 times 6 is 30. So we'll put a 3 on top here. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3 is 15. You don't have to drop your decimal because we'll be counting them later. Placeholder, 3 times 5 is 15. We'll carry the 1 on top. And then 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, we'll go ahead and complete this by adding it up. That's 0. That's 10. Carry the 1. That's 7, 8, 9. So we have 900, but the answer is not 900 because we have to count our decimals when we multiply. Don't forget. This is from 6th and 5th grade. So that's 1 placeholder and 2. So since we have 2, we're going to start at the end and move it 2 to the left. So my final answer will be 9.0. Now I just want to let you know 9.0 is the same as 9. So if you just put 9 or 9.0, it means the same answer. Now I did notice though, we are having a negative times a positive. So don't forget, whenever you finalize your answer, make sure that you have the right signs. And I noticed this is a negative times a positive. So my answer should be a negative 9, or we can say negative 9.0. They're both the same answer. Okay? So make sure you double check your signs when you multiply. But these two are the same answer, so just wanted to point that out. All right. Example 3. Now for example 3, we have here is negative 1/7 times 4/5 times negative 7. So what we need to do first is go ahead and multiply what you see in the bracket first. So I have here 4/5 times negative 7. Remember, PEMDAS, as we solve what's in the parentheses or bracket. So we're going to go ahead and solve this first. 4/5 times negative 7. So we're going to go ahead and times it by negative 7. Now, since negative 7 doesn't have a fraction, remember in our previous lessons, we will make it a fraction by putting it over what? Any number you want that's a whole or integer, and you want it to be a fraction, just put it over 1. Okay, so we'll go ahead and multiply this. Remember, multiply, you just multiply straight across. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28, and then 5 times 1 is 5, so we'll put 5 at the bottom. So that completes the bracket. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring down our last number here. We have negative 1/7, so we're going to bring that down. So all we need to do is now multiply across. But I do notice that we have a negative times a negative. So a negative times a negative will be a positive 28. And then we have here 7 times 5 is 35. So we'll look at it to see if all our signs are correct. And I see a negative times a negative is a positive, so that is correct. But I do notice you can reduce this. If you don't reduce it on your homework or your quiz or a test, you may get a half off, just to let you know. So make sure you always look at your final answer to see if you can reduce. And I notice you can. You can reduce it by a 7. So 28 divided by 7 is going to be 4, and 35 divided by 7 is 5. So my answer is 4/5. Okay? So this is for multiplying fractions, and this was also for multiplying decimals. Now, I would like for you to take out a piece of paper and go ahead and do problems 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Make sure whenever time you see a fraction that's being divided, you do not divide, but you're going to change this this division into a multiplication. Same goes for 1 and 2. Don't forget to change this into an improper before you solve. Okay? Any questions you have in this video, feel free to ask me tomorrow. All right, we're on our last example. For our last example, it says that you are an investor and you own stocks A, B, and C. And now you want to know what's the mean change in the value of stocks. So this is the original value. This is the current value. The only thing we're focusing on is the change. So we're going to look at this. And we want to know the mean. Well, to find the mean, all you need to do is add up the total that you have. So we're going to take negative 180 and 39 cents, and we're going to add it to 127 and 28 cents. And I notice the signs are different. So I'm going to subtract and carry the sign of the larger number. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. And I'm going to get, let me solve that really quick for you, and you can do that on the side. I'm going to get 53.11. And since the bigger number is this one, 180.39, my answer is going to be negative 53.11. So that's just adding this one and this one. Now we have one more to add. We have negative 280 and 52 cents. Since this is a negative, I know that I actually can just add this 53.11 with 280. So I'm going to go ahead and put 280 on top. Why can I just add them together? Because I notice that the signs are the same. So since you have two negatives, we'll go ahead and add them together. And when we add them together, you get a total of, let me go ahead and get that total, 3.33 and 63 cents. Now, that's the total for the whole entire change when you add the 3. But we want to know the mean. So to find the mean, all you need to do is take 333 and 63, or negative 333 and 63, and you're going to divide it by how many stocks you're talking about. Since we're talking about 3, we're going to go ahead and divide by 3. So this is going to be our final problem that we're going to work on. And so what we are going to do is we're going to do top goes in and bottom goes out. So this is dividing decimals. So 63, and that's going to be divided by 3. So we're going to figure out how much is the average for each stock. So that's 1, 1, 1. And I'm going to go ahead and finish that off. If you can also finish that off on the side with me. And I'm going to get, that's 3, that's 0, that's 3, that's 1. And we have subtract 3, that's 0. I'm sorry, yeah, that's 0. And that's 3, that's how I got that 1. Now we're bringing down to 6. 3 times what is going to be 36. And then I have, that's going to be, 3 times what is going to be 6. That's going to be, oops, I made an error here. That's going to be 2. So we're going to have 2 right here. And then that's going to be 6. That's a 0 right here, I apologize. And then 6 minus 6 is going to be 0. And that's going to be 3. And the last one is going to be 1. So we have a total, sorry, I can fix that for you, that's a 0. So we're going to have a total of 111 and 21 cents as our mean. So that's basically how you would find the mean of some of the values we have here. Okay? All right. I would like for you to now go ahead and do number 7. What if stock D was 568? So you have to go here and include 568 into your total and then divide it by, instead of 3, divided by 4. All right. Any questions you have on today's video, feel free to ask me tomorrow. But you do have to do one more thing for me, which is the exit ticket. Make sure you do these 2 problems, and we'll discuss them tomorrow in class. Have a good day. Bye-bye.